Let's talk about Knives Out, a murder mystery written and directed by Rian Johnson. In typical Rian Johnson fashion, the tension is, at times, contrasted with situational comedy. Be it a suspect literally yeeting incriminating evidence in the background while the hard-boiled detective squats down to search for clues, or a coffee mug with a funny but meaningful inscription shown very prominently in a shot. But also, in typical Rian Johnson fashion, he doesn't kill the vibe by overusing comedy. Another thing this movie succeeds at is keeping the tension and mystery fresh for more than 15 minutes without 1897 plot twists or not giving the viewer new information at all. This is achieved by administering critical information in small doses, so we can develop our own picture of what happened. The movie also at one point shares important information with the viewer but not with the detective, so we spend 30 minutes second guessing ourselves and hoping that the detective finally finds out what happened too. All this really kept me entertained and invested without an information or plot twist overkill. Also, Knives Out is not ashamed of using all the good tricks, stylistic devices and cliches in the book. Chekhov's gun gets fired, prophecies come true, the first and last shot mirror each other, and much more. I know they are basic, but Rian Johnson shows why all these tropes are all-time classics and basics and how they can make a movie more enjoyable and structured. Let's move on to the characters, because oh boy, there are a lot of them. We have the main character, Private Detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, Christopher Plummer as Harlan Trombay, a wealthy novelist who was murdered, his children and children-in-law and grandchildren played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Catherine Langford, Chris Evans and more. Most of them come off quite likable at the beginning, but soon we see the facade slip and get to see how envy, misunderstandings or lies bring all of them into conflict. Which is not made better by the reading of the will. It actually brings out the real, often ugly face of every character. I also like the changing allegiances of certain characters in response to new information coming to light. They aren't static. Also, Ana de Armas plays a Cuban nurse who vomits every time she lies. You see, this movie has a hell of a cast and they all play like a hell of a cast. After all those James Bond movies, I nearly forgot that Daniel Craig is actually an actor, not a model, but he made sure to remind me of it this time. But even the best actors cannot make shitty, flat characters interesting. Luckily, this movie has interesting and well-written characters and dialogue which, on par with the set design, really brings the atmosphere to life. The only small critique I have is that because there are so many characters, many of them get a very small character arc. But characters and set design aside, the thing that I maybe like the most about Knives Out is, because the script was written by Rian Johnson, you get into the movie without preconceptions, without knowing the story or who did it. I mean, the season 2 final of Sherlock would have really shocked me if I hadn't read the original novels. But since I didn't know anything about anyone, I could just sit back and enjoy the show. All in all, I can only recommend this movie, because for the first time in months, I genuinely had a fun time at the cinema. Don't get me wrong, I saw a lot of good movies the last months. But watching a man get beaten up and slip into a violent madness is not funny or entertaining and requires the right mood. And while I love movies like Joker for bringing important problems to our attention or discussing ethical dilemmas, sometimes I just want to have a good time, and the movie gave me just that. Interesting characters, witty dialogue, and a reasonable, complex but not too convoluted murder mystery with a hell of a cast. After which I can laugh on my way home with my girlfriend instead of slipping into an existential crisis. It is well thought through. You see Rian Johnson's influence as a writer and director everywhere, and it was hilarious at the right time, so I can only recommend it. So, as always, a big thank you to Leon from When They Leave Us for mixing and mastering the sound and providing the equipment necessary to record this shit. You can check out his content from the description below. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.